All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Good morning. Firstly, I just want to thank you, DMLL, for inviting us from Malaysia. We're from Malaysia. And how I think I will introduce how we came about together and work with Sylvester and the team. We got a grant a couple of years ago. We've just finished this year, and is a work on bringing play, co-creation to Borneo. There will be some quiz later on, just in case if you're, we're gonna test out your geography, if you know where Borneo is. Yeah, so we're bringing co-creation to schools. So this is more of a case study, how it works and what we have learned or lesson learned from all the activities. We've not only engaged with schools, but we've also engaged with NGOs, industries, and somehow as the project has ended in the beginning of the year, we have not been stopping until today. You see, we still have to talk about the work today. Yes, so the project, it was interesting because, we get co-creation is not new in Western country, I reckon. You use it in the UK, you use it in America, in Canada. But it's when we got the grant, the Newton Fund grant, and then we look at Sylvester, we go like, what gamification? What co-creation? I'm a computer scientist. I teach computing, I know algorithms, I do data mining, I do image processing. What co-creation, So the bit that was really interesting is that we learned something new in a Western country, and we brought it over. And the very smart bit, what Sylvester and team has done, is to actually engage the local community. That is us, in a university in Borneo. And then we get to go in and work together with the community, because there is a lot of protocols. We call it the indigenous protocols or community protocols. I'm sure you have protocols as well here. You need to get consent. When you run research or anything with human, you need like ethical consent. We have those as well, as required by our funders and the university. But the main one is to get approval from the head community to work in the village. And the village that we work with is a very rural village up on a highland. Very interesting journey. I would totally recommend all of you to try. Is that 1,000 things to do before you die. You must do this. Fly to Borneo, ride on a very small plane. Well, it's not that small. A twin otter. Yeah, it can be scary at first, but you get used to it. And then you take a boat, a long boat, but it fits only 1 to 2 person. So the stream is quite low. I mean, you can actually just get down and maybe I'm short, so it may just reach till my ankle, up the stream, down the stream. So it's a very adventurous sort of ride. And the bit that is really beautiful is that you get to see the beautiful real jungle, surrounded by oil palm plantation, of course. Okay, so that's Borneo. And I want to introduce you to this plant. Does it look like a banana leaf to you? Well, I'm sorry, I'm very Malaysian, so that's not a banana leaf, but it looks like a banana leaf. And that was the question that was posted by the guide. We went to Mulu. Mulu is one of the World Heritage, I think there's the third biggest cave in the world, and it's absolutely beautiful. So at the entrance of this cave, there's this banana-looking leaf. It's only one leaf hanging on the stalagmites, okay? Those, and you get tiny little flowers to allow it to pollinate. And this is very, what did I use? Endemic to Borneo. So you don't see it elsewhere except in Mulu. So that is why, with this image itself, is to tell you within all the co-creation and a lot of works that we do here as well as, back in Malaysia, everything is very different. It becomes very indigenized, it's very localized. So we will introduce to you some tools that we have. Well, we won't introduce, but we will just let you know that we came up with toolkits for teachers and so on. I've got this from the UNICEF report, 2019, and it's just to tell you where we stand. When we talk about play, everyone has a very different mindset of what play. Is it school, primary school? So we get a lot of audiences or participants that ask us, like, who are your audience? Who do you play with? Okay. Spouse? No. Well, not just child, of course. We focus more on teachers. So we're training teachers. So hence the circle bit with games. So we don't look at free play. We don't produce products on that and guided play, but more on games and direct instructions. Okay, whereby we want to see if we can train trainers, and trainers would be teachers or even trainers who wants to do co-creation. Okay. So that is where we stand, and that is what we understood what co-creation is from Sylvester and team. Right, so, and play is definitely unique to Borneo. So I've told Fitri that we're going to make this sort of presentation a bit fun, so we will have conversation. So now it's her turn to talk, so I can relax my leg a bit.
Okay. First question. Who knows where Borneo is? you guys don't count.
Except Sly and the team.
Yes. Where is it? Southeast Asia, specifically? Which country? You've been there. Can I have somebody who has not been there? Malaysia? You have not been there? It's Malaysia, Indonesia. There's 3 countries. There's another one, Brunei. Yeah, so we share the island with another 2 countries. There's a lot of cultures that we share, obviously, and from what we have gathered from our research, thank you, I forgot about that. The local cultures change with the different locations that we visit. And although we are bred in Malaysia, there are a lot of things that we found out we still do not understand. So through the project, through engaging with play, we were able to learn many things that were not written in books, not told to us by our elders, and we learned from the communities. So we stayed with them for a bit. Usually our research trips would take about a week, 2 weeks sometimes, and we get to know what they do every day, what they eat, how they, play with each other. So these are the things that we brought into what we now understand the way to integrate gamification into learning. And being in Southeast Asia, and I think what Richard mentioned many times just now in his presentation, the global South, we do not have a lot of resources. So we have to be creative. We have to use what we know is workable, and we share with the teachers, the local teachers that we work with, about how do they repurpose things that surround them. We also found that this is a huge problem. The gaps that the ministry level is pushing through the schools, meaning that, everybody has got to have this 21st century skills. But you go to a remote village, they have no idea what 21st century means. It's not in the psyche. It's not something that they work towards. So it's kind of very strange to have a school talking about all this 21st century agenda, but at the same time, people don't know how to get there, and they don't know why they need to get there. So this was the gap that we were playing with in our project. And we saw that through making it fun, more interactive, more participative. People became a bit more reactive towards why we need to look at different sets of skills. Like, for instance, critical thinking. Yeah, it's nice on journal papers, on books, on posters, but how do you do critical thinking? So we brought this into the community. We talked to the elders. We showed them what are the things that if your children are able to do this, what would they be able to do when they, find jobs, when they have to live on their own and stuff like that. One of the reactions that we got from a mother is that I'm not so sure whether this works, because if you want to eat, the food is just right there. We just go and forage, and and if I don't have the energy to go out, I can ask from my neighbors, and it's all self-sufficient. So the need is not really there. But slowly, I think the influence of wanting to have more money, afford more things, is coming in to all these remote rural areas. So to enable the children to participate in the bigger economy, they have to have all the skills. So this was how we got into talking with the elders in the community. But we are multiracial, multilingual. Language is also a thing that we struggled with. When we brought the team from the UK to the remote areas, we also had to learn many new words, many vocabulary, many ways of saying things as well, because again, these are all not documented knowledge. Yeah? And like what I mentioned just now, the focus on STEM, on STEAM, 21st century learning, all this is a gap. It's non-existent. It's said in the schools, but the parents don't get it. They're still finding hunting and farming and as ways to survive. So how do we get there? So what we did was, in the first instance when we found this, was we asked them to show them how they play. At first we thought we would sound bonkers, to be honest, but on our first trip, I think it's quite a blessing. They woke us up. Both JC and I were still sleeping at about, I think, 7. Yeah, they woke us up in the morning. We were actually woken up by the chicken, remember? Yeah. There was chicken was non-stop. Oh my gosh. Anyhow, 7 o'clock. We're city girls. We're not really, Anyhow, 7 o'clock, they knocked on our doors and said, come down. We want to show you something. So they were all there, the men in the community, and they showed us a game to hunt. And we have never heard of the game at all. Like, nobody has ever mentioned it. We have never read it. And this was particularly important for that community because it's a way to show young children on how to survive on their own in the jungles. So using the dynamics of that game, it was a lot of physics actually, we brought that to the schools. And funnily enough, the school, which was situated within the community, did not hear about those games as well, at all. Because there was no direct, link? Communication, I guess, in some sense. Yeah. So what happens in the school is in the school. What happens in the community is in that community, but they live together. So very strange. So what we did was we brought that into the schools, got the teachers playing, got the teachers to create what the children had at home, bring that to the school, and then create the materials, the toolkits and stuff like that. So we collected quite a number of games with the teachers.
Yeah. You hear the word hunting, and then you may start wondering, hunting? The community that we went to, I'm sure you've heard this somewhere on BBC, it was on BBC. We have another group of community. They are the nomads. They live within the jungle, and they are the one who actually believes in their land rights. Because their supermarket is not Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Waitrose. It's actually the jungle itself. And that's where they find their resources, fruits, vegetables, animals, and all. So you may have heard of the Penans. We call them the Penans. And they are a few communities that have already settled by the government. And there are still a number of nomads that still lives within Borneo itself. And these are the people, the very strong-willed communities. They believe in what they believe in. And as the kids grow up, usually they would bring their kids, I think at the age of 11, 12, if I remember correctly, they would bring them to the jungle and teach them on how to hunt. And they also have different language. So the language is not just the Penan language. In total, we have more than 30 languages in Borneo itself. I only speak 3 or 4 of it. 4, yeah. And so the Penans, they have their own language, but they also have sign language, which means they've got leaves, and they can turn and bend the, I'm sorry if I'm gonna bend it. And if you move around or you go around and then you see things that are bended with certain sign, and then they will do something to it. We call this Toro language. And then as you pass a certain place, you see the sign on the leaf, you would know what it means. And that is another part of a research that is done by the team. So when you see food, and then you see the one that I know, of course, when I see food, is a stick, and then they carve in between, they put leaf. It means that it's free. You know, you can help yourself. So I need to know that, so that if I see food, I can help myself. So the Penan community still believe in their culture, their beliefs, and so on in hunting. And I think throughout the whole of Malaysia, I won't say Malaysia, because if you have been to Kuala Lumpur, it's the capital, it's very much like London or Coventry. But if you've been to Sarawak, there's a lot of ethnic, and we still keep to our own identity. My mom's Chinese, I'm very Chinese with my choice of food. And my dad, Sylvester, and I were a different sort of ethnic. And I still believe in respecting, so which is very, very important, you know. And types of food again. We revolve around food. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's how we understand the community first. Before we actually go on ground, we do a lot of readings. We talk to a lot of anthropologists, social scientists, and really need to understand despite being a Malaysian. Yeah. So that's how the hunting comes in, and the game that comes in to teach them how to hunt.
We brought a bunch of games that you guys can play with during break time. We laid it out at the grass area at the back. Help yourselves. There are some instructions as well. So these are the different groups of children that we played with. This one we actually co-created games with them. We sat down with them. International school, private education. These are public schools. Also, the almost similar games. But we saw that co-creation can work in almost any school, any type of school, any type of background. It's just the triggers to get them to co-create is very, very important. And the triggers has got to come from the teachers. One of the questions, I actually prepared a Kahoot for the presentation today. I wanted to know what you guys think. Do you think teachers know how students learn? Do teachers know how students learn? That was my question. Yeah. Do teachers know how students learn? Mm-hmm. Funny thing, I tried the sprint. Yeah, the one Richard was talking about earlier. I tried the sprint design with teachers in Malaysia. I got stuck in the first bit, which is the user experience. because the user experience forces you to think about what students go through when they learn. It's very difficult to visualize that for some reason. I got them to draw, I got them to even sing. I tried many tools just to get them to think about, if your students see this, what comes to their mind? What is it that you want them to form in their mind in order to, go on to the next levels? That was the biggest challenge. I think because, I don't know about here, but in Malaysia, again, the syllabus is very much prescriptive. So the teachers are more anxious to finish the learning outcome of the day, and not really worried about how is it that the students are actually going to go through all these materials. So that was the struggle that we saw. And I think this is a continuing question that we have to find out, I guess, in some sense.
Yeah, so we mentioned earlier the project did not end. It's a nightmare for me. Yeah. But this turns out to be finding a business model, and we need to find ways to actually sustain the project. And we have been doing a lot of things for free. Free as I use my own pocket money, Fitri used her own pocket money, and we started selling our own products. And I started selling, I buy lots of different dice because when we brought we call it a magic box. Yeah. So where we bring it to schools, and then the kids gets to pick what they want, all the items in it. And the teachers saw some of the stuff in the box, and we were approached and said, "Do you sell all this?" So I took the opportunity, packaged it. We have our own Amazon, it's called Lazada. So I bought a few, and I actually got profit out of it. So all the games, some of the games that we did, or together with the rest of the team, and then we've got students as well that develop the games. And I think jobs these days, in today's world, unlike our time, we can find jobs easily. But a lot of graduates, even in Malaysia, are finding it hard to find jobs. And some of the games that they have developed, they're planning to sell it. And we're working together with them to build a proper prototype and then come up with a business model and to see if we can sell it off and profit for them. So the extended impact, now we work on climate change. I myself worked on climate change together with a team. Climate change is not being taught in schools in Malaysia. Fortunately, there are some schools in the city with the teachers' initiative to actually, build games or teach outside classroom on climate change, like they do gardening. Those are the simple things, and they teach their kids to recycle or come up with a handicraft from plastics, all the leftover plastics that they get at home. And if they can come up with bags, I have it at home. I didn't bring it here. Yeah, so perhaps next time, if we do a remix play in Malaysia, you're most welcome to come. Then we'll showcase some of the repurposed items and products. Yeah, so that's on the climate change. The one at the bottom, that's a climate change game to teach water. So how do you river? Sorry. That project was also done by another project leader who actually attended our first remix play, and she's a marine science lecturer, and she got so interested with the idea of co-creation, and throughout the whole project, that 2 years of a project, she actually co-created with her students a lot of different games for engagement, to repurpose products, recycled products. She has also came out with another version of What's Your Story. I think you have seen DMLL, What's Your Story. So instead of a narrative coming out with stories, what they do is from the pictures, they would say, what are the problems that you face from the picture, and what are the proposed solutions to helping in cleaning, having clean water or clean river and so on. Okay. And then that picture is just a discussion. That's also just a discussion on engaging, introducing the games. Surprisingly, kids these days don't play games, they play mobile games. And when you introduce them to a lot of paper-based games, it felt like, our time. I'm not that young, You know, that you have that age where you are exposed to computers and suddenly everyone will just go like, what's fear of computers? Yeah, so they have this sort of like fear of board games, paper-based games, card game, what are those? So we get them to be exposed with all the different board games as well. And the last one is just something fun that I got addicted to, creating games, like being a game master. So, yeah, so you get to see a real dinosaur that came in. And yeah, so this was done with the kids. Kids had fun for 1 hour and a half. I mean, I can talk more about it after this. Otherwise, being a lecturer, we can speak for 5 hours. So we've got to control ourselves on this. And then the other 3 is what Fitri and team are doing.
We've been approached by many lecturers, and that's why I've been telling Sylvester, don't know where to stop. This is the first time that I have a research project that I don't know where to stop, because people keep on asking, like, can I participate? Can I do this? Can I do this? So we have small sessions with the lecturers, and then they come from obviously various fields. And now these 3 are all in motion. We have groups of lecturers working on learning disabilities. They want to teach people about learning disabilities. So they get students to go out to the dyslexia centers, autism, blah, blah, blah. So getting a feel of what's going on in all these different centers, they come up with games. So that one is on the way right now. And we have people in social work who is worried about the, the number of unemployment in Sarawak. So they want to know, like, how do we engage all these youth? So they want to gamify, because they thought all the ways as in how they tried to reach out to the youth have not worked. So a way to probably get in is to use games. So also that one is on the way. Yeah. Thank you, Alex.